all these spaces. So today we're going to talk briefly about community energy and what it is, and Eva's going to cover that part, and then I'm going to start talking about what we're doing in the local area, things that you might want to get involved in that are on your doorstep. So do let me know if there's any problems with the screen sharing, as that's under my control, and I will let you know. I will pass you over to Eva right now.
Cool. Thanks, Heta. And hi, everyone. Yes, so I'm going to start by giving you a bit of an overview of what community energy is and what we do at Repowering London. So community energy, I don't know if lots of you are familiar with this term. You can go to the next slide, Heta. Yeah, if you know what it is, maybe you can put something in the chat if you've heard the term community energy before, or if you know what a community energy project is, if this is something that you came across around in London or somewhere else, just put it in the chat. I can't see the next slide, I think. Ah, yes, okay, cool. So yeah, I'll let you take your time to answer, but yes. It's not necessarily a very mainstream concept, so I thought I'd start by explaining what it is. So community energy, it's when people come together to generate, own, or manage, or reduce consumption of energy. So people come together to create an energy project, basically. And it's not led by a company, it's not led by the government, it's led by people like you and me. And community energy projects can take loads of different forms because there are so many ways that you can do an energy project. And a few examples can be like installing solar panels on a school, or it can be installing LED lighting in a sports center, or I don't know, running like energy efficiency measures on the street. But there's always this element of it's owned and managed and led by people, and there is this element that it's something that's good for the climate because it's led by people. So it's renewable energy. Or it's reducing energy or trying to be more efficient. So there's loads of different types of community energy projects, and you can go to the next slide now. Yes, so there's loads of different types of community energy projects, and the community energy sector is it's a growing sector. It's still relatively small in terms of like in the bigger picture of the country, but it has it is a sector that has a great diversity of projects. And you can see here, I took this from the Community Energy England State of the Sector report, but you can see, it's like, 68 megawatts of electricity capacity, like 143,000 1,000 tons of CO2 saved annually, loads of members, people part of community energy groups, loads of people who are volunteers, but also loads of people who are employed. And community energy projects can create savings on energy bills, save CO2 emissions, and create employment opportunities for local people. And I'll explain a bit more what this looks like and why all these benefits come to life with the community energy project. But this was just to show you that it's a big, it's a sector that's growing. There are community energy projects in England, but also in Wales and also in Scotland. And we're hoping, we're part of a movement that we're hoping to see grow much more in the next years, because community energy is just a great way to try and solve the climate and the energy crisis at the same time. So to get into a bit more detail of how a community energy project works and how we get all these benefits from them, I think I'm going to give you like a sort of straightforward example of the sort of typical standard project that we do at Repowering London, which would be installing solar panels on a school. So the way we do it, we find a school that looks suitable for solar panels. We get people together in the neighborhood, like excited about it. And we create a community benefit society, which is a form of cooperative. So we find directors and we get people on board. We create the cooperative. And then we do what we call a community share offer. So that means that we do a sort of big crowdfunding campaign, and we invite anyone who wants to invest, sometimes for a little as like 20 or 50 pounds, to invest and buy a share in the solar panels. And once we've raised enough money in our big common pot, we buy the assets, and then we install them on the school. And the solar panels belong to the cooperative. So the cooperative sells the electricity to the school, and we often do that at a discounted rate. Actually, we always do that at the discounted rate because that's also part of the benefits. So the cooperative sells this electricity to the school at a discounted rate. And then with the profits made from the sale of electricity, we pay back the investors, all the community investors that got together during the crowdfunding. We pay them back with a return. And then all the surplus profit that we make, we put it into a community fund. And the idea of the community fund is that it's a pot of money that sits there, and it's ring-fenced to benefit the local community, and it's people who are part of the cooperative who can decide together in a democratic process what you do with this money. So there's really this idea of like bringing the benefits of energy into communities, and this is why like I've put some keywords there. But so there is this idea of ownership and cooperatives, because the cooperative owns the solar panels, and it's a democratic process. So all the people who invested have a voice in how the cooperative is run and how we spend the community fund. And that is regardless of the amount that they've invested, whether you invested £10,000 or £20, you have the same say. And so in that sense, it's a very democratic process. Just transition, I've put that word because there is this idea of like people power and taking back control of our energy, and just creating a different kind of economic model in some way. And social energy, that's also a very important part of our projects, because there is this idea that it's not only about the kilowatts and the CO2 savings we're making. Our projects are also relatively small, but what really matters is this social energy that comes out of them. Like, how can we use solar panels and renewable energy to create a different kind of social energy and show people that we can, create something really completely different than what currently makes up most of our energy system. Next slide, please. Yes, so Repowering London. So that's us, and we are specializing in community energy. And our thing is really, we're like a facilitator, like an enabler for communities to create their community energy projects. And there is, I think our role is important because it's not simple. Like, for people who aren't energy experts, it's not necessarily something super easy to set up. You need a little bit of technical expertise and financial expertise, and some legal advice and things like that, and also understanding how you run a cooperative and doing all the community engagement. So Repowering London, we see ourselves as like a supporter and enabler for people who want to do projects like that, but don't necessarily know where to start and need a bit of help in the process. And our vision is really like, we want to support all Londoners to participate in and benefit from the transition to a low carbon society with affordable and secure energy, and also trying to provide opportunities for high quality jobs. And the way we do that is by facilitating community energy projects. And it's not the only thing we do. We're trying to have quite a holistic approach around energy. So rooftop solar is one of the big things in our toolkit, and I was explaining how a typical rooftop solar community energy project works. But it's not the only thing we're doing. We're also doing things around this. We're also trying to run innovation pilots to try and look at different technologies. For instance, looking at how can we use heat, or like demand side response, so trying to be more flexible with energy demand. We're also trying to look at community support services. So how can we develop better ways to support people who are experiencing fuel poverty? And we also run education and training programs. So one of them is our youth training program, where we try and give young people the skills that they need to get into the green energy sector. And our idea is that these things are all linked together, like they feed into each other. The community support services feed into the way that the cooperatives do the engagement. The education and training enables to train people to then become the solar installers of tomorrow, which are going to install the solar panels of our cooperatives. So it's like really trying to build a completely different model altogether. Next slide, please. And yes, so where we are, so I was saying that we're basically a facilitator and an enabler, and we've got 8 cooperatives so far that we helped creating and that we are supporting like in the day-to-day. And these 8 cooperatives are in different places in London. We started in Lambeth, so we've got quite a lot of cooperatives in Lambeth, in Brixton, and in Vauxhall. We've got a cooperative in Hackney and in Aldgate, like more East London. And then we've got also an amazing cooperative in West London, which is called North Kensington Community Energy. And as you can see from the kilowatts, it's our biggest cooperative so far in terms of like install, but also in terms of members. And yeah, it's the closest to Hammersmith and Fulham. So we thought it's the most, probably the good like leeway into what we're planning in Hammersmith and Fulham. So I'll pass it on to Etta, who's working with me at Repowering, but also director of North Kensington Community Energy. And so can talk to you more about what we do there and what we're planning in your borough.
Thank you. I love listening to Eva talk about community energy because I spend a lot of my day looking at sites and kilowatts, and so it's always inspiring to remember why we started all of this. So yes, North Kensington Community Energy is how I got into community energy. I became a small investor in NKCE for the solar panels that you can see in the middle. On the Westway, just underneath that octopus sign, was my investment into that. And from that, I became a very active volunteer. And it was a really transformative experience for me personally, in terms of taking climate action locally, building my network of people who have similar outlooks and values to me. It can be a kind of distressing to be in a climate anxious state without having a community that you're taking action with. Is a real balm to that. And it's been a wonderful experience, and how I eventually started working at Repowering London. So this is some photos of our wonderful co-op. This is our youngest member at the top left, who's Feifei, and she was at our Greener Living Day, and we asked what she would ask the mayor, as we did to many children. And she said, I would like to make rich people give poor people £20 each. That was her social policy, which I thought was very progressive and impressive. And so we've run solar panel making workshops. We've run Greener Living Days. So as Eva was talking about the kind of difference between just the what's and the social energy and the social cohesion and the transformative elements of community energy, I think some of these photos really display that. This is our most recent event, and you can see Mark from Hammersmith and Fulham Council in the middle there. And this is our Greener Living Day that we ran in partnership with the Nourish Hub, which is a wonderful place, if anybody hasn't been in Hammersmith and Fulham, that rescues food and then takes it back to their hub and makes wonderful community lunches that pay as you go. And we had a day where we had different themes connecting energy use, food, and renewables, and it was a really fabulous day of bringing people together. The children made an artwork that we're displaying there, and I think these smiles show the benefits of community energy beyond the kilowatts. So we are, as we said, a wonderfully growing sector, and we want to grow more. At the moment, we're only 1% of the supply in the UK. It's really important that we start, like, as community energy as a sector is really innovative and nimble, and we're able to kind of make decisions and test things out, as we were talking about in our innovation work. And one of the things that we're doing that is in local supply and feeding energy renewables to the local residents, which is a very challenging area to work in, but we are working on it, and it's extremely exciting. We obviously need more funding. We also work a lot in energy efficiency, and there is a campaign to do with planning and kind of changing legislation to make it easier to set up community energy. So there's lots of work going on, and one of the things I would like to talk about is Hammersmith and Fulham Community Energy, which I am delighted to say we've just received funding from the London Community Energy Fund of the GLA, the Greater London Authority, to do feasibility studies on 5 sites across the Hammersmith and Fulham Borough. it's a wonderful opportunity to take what we have a group of residents who have already come together to form a community benefit society, and the feasibility studies will allow us to really take the next step, and Repowering London will support them in the technical elements of finding the sites, understanding if they're financially feasible, understanding if they're technically feasible, and also what Eva works in is kind of building the social feasibility. So we'll be doing events and engagement across Hammersmith and Fulham to support Hammersmith and Fulham community energy flourishing over the next year or so. So it's a wonderful piece of news that I was so glad we got last week in time for this meeting. So we will be at events across the borough. We'll be talking about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, where we're going to do it, and we will need lots of you to help us with that and to join us and be part of the first energy cooperative in Hammersmith and Fulham. So yes, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to share with you today, and any questions.
Before we go into questions, if you can just move on to the next slide.
Of course.
Have something quick to a couple of things to say. So the first thing is, as you've heard, Climate Connect. I've just sent in the link for that. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. It's really a really great way to stay informed. If you want to hear more from us, from the climate team, but also from Etta and Eva, feel free to come to the Wandsworth Bridge Road Fair Festival. We'll be there this Saturday. I think it's a Saturday. I hope. Is it not?
It's a Sunday, I think.
It's a Sunday. Yeah, sorry, it's a Sunday. So we'll be there. Feel free to show up, come to our stall, ask any questions. And then the third really important thing is, if you are a business owner, or if you know someone within Hammersmith and Fulham who is a business owner and they want to improve their energy efficiency whilst also reducing their carbon emissions, then they can apply for grants. They're called SME grants, and I'm going to be posting them in the chat here. And just lastly, in addition to that, we have a website that just launched recently for Repowering Hammersmith and Fulham. So if you want to hear more, feel free to subscribe. You should be able to see a link. If you should be able to see an email if you click on the link. And I think I'm gonna stop the recording now, and we can go into the Q&A.